Greetings. This is Framework for the Family podcast. I'm your host, Bomani Tyhemba, here with my co-hosts, Ezekiel Adams, Brian Howard. And we want you to hit that like button. We want you to hit that subscribe button.
Thank you.
And again, this is we want to thank you for those who are listening to us, tuning in to our podcast. We hope that you like something, and we would like you to have some comments. Leave some comments. Give us some ideas about what you would like us to talk about and discuss. So we were, in our last podcast, this continuation, we were talking about the dating scene, okay? And we left with the theme that kept coming up was about communication. Communication is important. Communication is important so that you can express who you are. Well, first you should know who you are. You should do some self-reflection. Communication gives you an opportunity to communicate to your dating partner what things that you like, what your vision is for your life. Those are some important things, and you should have that at some point in time in this dating, because particularly if it's someone you were thinking about spending the rest of your life with through marriage. So keep the communication lines open. We left with a question about, should you enter a relationship thinking you're going to change someone? Zeke, you gave that as a topic to continue on. And I liked what Brian said. He had a counterpoint. Hey, what if you could just live with them?
Yeah.
So let's
live with the situation.
Live with the situation. So let's just talk about the first one. Should you, in your dating, think you're going to change someone?
Again, like I said, I'm being transparent with that. And again, what Bomani was saying is, in dating, know yourself, respect yourself enough to be vocal in the relationship, in the dating scene. Okay. So the things that I saw, me personally, is accepting things that were or trying to change things that I felt, well, maybe, man, this long term, this could be detrimental on how we raise our kids. This could be something that might not be very healthy for our situation. One of the biggest things I struggled with was communication. A person that you can talk to, but won't initiate the conversation. So if there's a problem that I didn't think it was a problem, it was just overlooked until an argument showed up. And then it was boom, 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 boom. Well, this happened and you did this and that happened and I was mad with this person. That I'm like, okay, so how come I didn't know about this during the time it happened? Because that person will not initiate. And I overlooked that. And that came back in the later years of the relationship. It grew into a big problem. Because that grew into being aggravated, holding grudges. And these are detrimental to a relationship. Okay? A person that cannot interact, whether it's good or bad, they are not in a leadership role of conversations, it can actually piggyback on a negative long term by those things creeping in.
Now, can I ask you a question? You were saying this in the context of your marriage, correct?
Yes.
So now, just to ask a question. So let's say you're dating and something like that comes up. Is that a conversation you can have, or you just throw in the towel and say, I quit? We ain't doing this no more.
No, I believe that everything can have a conversation. It's whether or not that you see the change. It's whether or not you see the initiation or the acceptance of the accountability of the conversation.
And to follow that up, it's like, cause if you're dating and you're looking for this person to spend the rest of your life with, time is precious. you don't have infinite time and infinite resources to find this person that you need, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody is not there, and I guess it would be a judgment call as to how close they are or aren't, but would you say, okay, let's have a conversation about this, let's see if we can work through this, or would you say, you know what, I ain't got time for this, I need to find my one?
Mm-hmm. Some people do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that men and women in the dating have said, you know what, I see something, I don't feel comfortable with it, and I'm going to leave it here.
Okay. And that's perfectly okay.
And it's perfectly okay.
So you're not going to try and change them, mold them, shape them.
No, I don't think that.
You're not wired that way. You're gonna make a.
I can be wired that way. I can be wired that way. But what I would say, is it healthy? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is it healthy to?
Is it healthy to try to? If you see something, and you're saying that, and you know that this might have a negative effect long term, and you're dating, and you see, you know what? He drinks probably about 2 times a week. But he's a nice guy. You know?
But I don't want drinking to be a part of my life at all. So see, now you got to judge it against where you are as a person.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, but you know, he drinks 2 times a week, and you know, maybe I can change that. Maybe I can get him to come to church.
Yeah.
Maybe I could get him to get baptized. and 7 years down the road, I knew I shouldn't have married that. I knew. He's an alcoholic. He
wakes up in the morning.
He wakes up with gin and juice. And he was only drinking a little bit just because, he didn't want you to see all this stuff. But the thing is we as people wired. I think you said something about cloning. I'm wired. I can be wired to do that. But that was one of the things that I realized in going through therapy. I need to understand myself, not to try to do those things. Okay. You understand it. You have takeaways, and you are also when you said judgment, there's going to come a judgment whether or not you're going to accept it, or you're not going to accept it.
Right. Let's put it in the framework of I have some non-negotiables.
Yeah,
and some negotiables.
Yeah.
Non-negotiables meaning that if I see these things in the person that I'm dating, and that's a behavior or a characteristic that I make the determination, and this is all about me. Going back to you should know yourself in our first topic, podcast on this. I know myself well enough that I have this list of non-negotiables, and if I see these things in that person, I may like them, I'm attracted to them. However, this is one of my non-negotiables.
Right.
Everyone should have a non-negotiable list, and everyone should have a negotiable list.
Should they write it down?
Either write it down or know what they are. Writing it down will be good.
Yeah.
But definitely have it somewhere where you know what it is, and when you recognize these things, then you have a choice to make. You have a choice. Hey, this fits my non-negotiable. Now I'm going to do one or two things. If it's non-negotiable, says I'm out. You can continue to be friends or person, but this person, you put that person in a box like I won't see them long term in my life. Negotiable is what you talked about. Yeah. I can live with it.
I can live with that.
Let's talk about that.
I can live with it. So all I'm saying is,
can you live with it?
I mean, you gotta know yourself.
You
right?
gotta know yourself.
Let's find something. What could we live with? Like, for example, we talked about finance. That may be a big deal for some people and not as big for others. So if I make $1 million a year, is it okay that my wife only makes $40,000? maybe it's not a big deal breaker, but somebody else be like, no, she got to be somewhere up on my level. You know, and I don't know
We
that
talked
that's,
about that. Yeah. And go ahead.
I was only going to say, it depends on the individual whether that's negotiable or not.
True that.
You know.
And you know, man, that is a great statement, and I'm in on the struggle bus with that, because it when you're talking about finances, when you're talking about behaviors, when you're talking about people that have immaturities, I'm just gonna throw it out there. Can you live with that? And
your body language says that you can't. You know, just looking at your body language, you can't live with it. Whatever the negotiable is, you can't.
I mean, there's some things. Sure. I mean, Brian's statement really. We could go really into depth of that.
We got some time. This is framework for the family.
I mean, you know, I think that statement that he made is what people are doing now.
Just living with it.
We're living with stuff.
Yeah.
But
I bet you none of us have a list though.
No.
To your point.
We don't have a list.
Because we're talking about dating now.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're not talking about in the marriage. We're
talking about dating.
We're talking about dating.
And you know, just when you said the way you said, can you live? People are living that way. Mm-hmm. Actually, you gave another perspective of what you just said. Not just can you live with, meaning it's okay. I'm going to work towards it. I can accept it. I can accept the reality of this is something that I have to live with it. You said, can you really live? Or that's what they're doing. They're living with it. And it's like it's said in a negative vein. They really can't live with it, even though they're living with it.
Right.
They can't live with it
because they wouldn't be in therapy if you know, they wouldn't be in counseling. And the thing is that non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. It kind of override living with it.
Well, let's draw a line really quick. Let's say it's a negotiable if you can look at this behavior, this situation, and say, if this never changes, I'm fine.
Yeah.
If it never changes, I'm okay. Versus, I think it can change. I really hope it does. That's a non-negotiable.
That's a non-negotiable.
I see that. I see that.
But if you look at it and you say, you know what, if she never does this in her life, I'm cool.
Right.
That's a negotiable.
If she never learns to cook a meal at all,
boy,
finish the sentence. See,
look, that's non-negotiable.
I'm out. I want to eat a home cooked meal, man.
Every once in a while,
at least give me
something,
lasagna or something.
Yes,
you know.
Something that you made with your hands.
Come on, man. You know, I don't want to. Yeah, and you know, I think that what is the key? What you just said again, that is another key. Mm-hmm. I think that some people say, you know what, I love this person so much, and the situation is not really affecting us.
Yes.
And it's right now, but you should know whether or not it's going to be a long-term effect or not. Mm-hmm. If it's bothering you a little bit in the dating, it's going to kill you in the you're going to be very, very not happy down the road. Mm-hmm. Again, in relationship, when you're in a relationship and you're dating, that relationship will get more serious as time goes on.
Yes, it will.
Accountability will always, and I always say this, and I repeat this in this podcast, being accountable for who you are and the relationship is important. So, in understanding of who you are, you have to be able to have non-negotiables or say, hey, this is really not affecting me, so I'm going to live with this part of it. Mm-hmm. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay?
But with the mindset, I'm just tolerating it. I'm going to live with it.
And you have to truly be okay with it.
That's what Brian was saying. If you're tolerating it, it's going to be just a short,
you don't want that.
You don't want to be tolerating something.
Yeah. You got to truly be willing to live with it.
So being in dating, I would say that from that conversation, the takeaway from that is to, again, understand who you are as a person. Some people say, you know what? I just want to be happy. And this person makes me happy.
Ooh, that's so dangerous.
And you know what? When I'm around him,
they make me happy.
Make me happy.
You feel happy.
I feel like I'm loved. I'm encouraged. I'm this. They treat me right. They open up the doors for me. They make me feel like $1,000,000.
Yeah.
And I feel happy. My question to them is, that is not the reason why you should be in a serious relationship or going towards marriage with that person. Okay.
Explain that.
First of all, you need to understand your happiness with yourself.
Okay.
And your happiness is dependent on you primarily.
On you.
Your happiness is dependent on you and what you do for self, whether it's self-reflecting, self-growing, accomplishments. When you lean on somebody else, as humans, that person is not going to always give you the happiness that you're looking for. And just like you said in the previous podcast, you're going to be in your best form when you're dating.
When you're dating, right. I got on my best.
You're going to have
dressed to the nines.
Yeah, because your attention span is, oh, she's hot. She's cute.
Yeah.
I'm going to open the door for her. I'm going to do things that I probably wouldn't do for my own mama. I wouldn't even open up the door for my mama.
Yeah, what happens when the makeup comes off?
What happens to the makeup come off? You know what I'm saying? So I'm being honest about your self-happiness is 110% the most important.
Yes.
If you are not happy with yourself, go to counseling. Because a lot of people that I have talked to reflect on the person that they're tired of, they can't deal with, they can't tolerate anymore. Why? Because they were the backbone of how they felt, and they got led right up to the altar based upon someone else's actions that was towards them in a surface world, not the constructive part of a relationship. Okay? The constructive part of the relationship is self-reflection and building. So they could not appreciate the times where the person did not give them or open the door for them. Okay? Well, he's not opening up the door for me today.
Stand over here.
Yeah.
And wait.
Yeah. But you know what?
Better get in the car.
Yeah. But I must say, but sometimes people's like, I had a couple, and she says, he opened up the doors for me. In 5 years in the marriage, I realized he wasn't opening the door for me. And you know what I did? I taught him a lesson. I stayed outside, and he got in the car. I said, did he come out? He said, no. He thought I was in the car, and he drove off. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. No, but he realized that she was not in the car. He opened the door. His door went around, opened the door for her. And it triggered him. Hey. And she said, oh, thank you for opening the door for me. You used to do that all the time. And he said, you know what? You're right.
I like to appreciate both the maturity of that situation.
The maturity
to not be all
Yeah.
irritated and mad.
She wasn't irritated or mad or whatnot. She was teaching in a kind way, and he was accepting in a kind way.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue is that is the constructive part,
Mm-hmm.
not the surface part.
Sure.
Because he didn't make me happy. He don't make me happy anymore.
Okay.
I fell out of love with. Then this is the worst one. I can't stand when someone's. I fell out of love with that person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so immature.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I will call it like I see it. I'm sorry. People, it's immature.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, falling in love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
And you were to dissect falling in love. You were not in the right position that you have to fall in love. Okay? You didn't love yourself enough. And you fell in love. And now, it's not the situation you wanted. And now you've fallen out
You
all
keep
along.
falling. You fell in,
You
fell
fell
out.
in and you fall out.
Yeah.
You roll in and you roll out.
Yeah.
That is not the foundation of a good relationship. It is not the foundation of a in the dating scene. Okay, so get to know who you are, and understand your constructive behavior in your dating compared to the surface. Okay, what do you have to give? How can you teach? What is it that that person presents to you that helps your soul, that helps who you are, to help you gain more of a accountability and to be a servant? Okay, you love somebody, you care about them, you're not looking to always receive. Okay,
serve.
You're a servant as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yes.
No, I agree with that. I like to add, when you're talking about falling in and out of love, that's people who are externally motivated versus being internally motivated, where you have a system of values and things that drives you to do. Because honestly, if somebody is not treating you right, what reason are you going to have to treat them right? You have to be internally driven to push beyond that. Because if you're externally driven, well, she ain't treating me right. Shoot, I ain't gonna
treat her right.
Forget that.
And God is not in the picture. God's gone.
Yeah. And so there has to be that internal, something internal driving you. Hopefully God, but there's something internally driving you. And I think I want to go back to something we said last year. There's kind of like a ceiling on your dating game, if I can say it that way. You can only, I won't say only, but as a general rule, you can only attract as much as you have to give.
Yeah.
Right. Remember, you can't be a nickel looking for a dime. Right. You really, and I think this goes back to self-reflection. You really have to take time and not just think about your situation, but really take time and invest in yourself, develop yourself as a Christian, in your values, professionally, whatever. Develop yourself so that you have something to offer, and then suddenly it raises the ceiling on what you can get.
Now, let me ask you a question. Were we talking about this at the age of 18?
No. You know what? I wish we would have been, though, because, me, my brother, my cousin, we all about the same age, and we talk about this stuff, and they're like, our parents didn't tell us this stuff.
Yeah.
And we looking at each other crazy, like, why are we sitting here talking about this, crying about our relationships now?
Yeah. And
why
it goes back.
tell us this?
Yeah. I am a advocate of talking to your kids. And some people are like, they leave out some of their imperfections with their children. Okay.
For sure.
I'm an advocate of actually explaining to my children about certain situations. Don't do this. I did it. This is how it worked out. Don't do it. Understand yourself. Self-motivation. We talk about self-preservation, self-motivation, and being accountable for yourself. Okay? In your chores, we talk about chores. We talk about that. Strengthening them to be men. Not only to be men, God-fearing men, and to understand through dad's situation, I'm going to lean more towards what God is asking me to do. And that my spouse and how I pick my spouse will be differently than, and if they're in a situation, it will be different of how they are operating in their relationship compared to what their dad did. So, I also teach this to people. I think I told you about the girl at the bank. the relationship. They decided to call off the engagement because she wanted to understand him better.
Mm.
His parents were divorced. He lived with his aunt. She looked at our podcast and said, well, you know what? Let me start to dig a little deeper. Maybe we might need more counseling. Was he wired long term to take care of her? Those are things we need to understand of being in a dating situation or dating. Is your mate wired for long term?
Can I interject one little thing?
Yeah.
I just want a little clarification. When you say wired, you just mean, and tell me if I'm wrong, you just mean they're not currently equipped. Like this is something that can change. They can grow
change.
And learn.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Again, that was back in October. They got re-engaged. They went and got counseling. They talked to a pastor. I talked to the boyfriend, and the boyfriend was like, yeah, man, I was struggling in some areas. Mm. The things that she talked to me about, we've been dating for 4 years, and we had a conversation in therapy, and these are things I probably couldn't give her. Mm. I wasn't wired to give her the things that she was asking for. My dad never took care of me. You know, I would have been afraid, for children. I'm afraid of kids. I don't know if I can be the dad that I need to be. I'm afraid of that area. Mm-hmm. And these are things that they need to talk about and work it out. So in saying that, when I say wired means that you're right. It's like, I don't have the wires, but I can develop them. I always use that term. You're not wired for that, or I'm not wired for this.
But it's not a permanent state.
It's never a permanent state.
Okay.
It's just that some.
You're not wired for this now.
Yeah, some women might not know, are not wired to take care of men. Mm-hmm. They're not wired to take care of men. They have lived in a household where the mother has been with multiple different men, and the relationship has been broken relationships after broken relationships after broken relationships. They've saw this. They haven't been around a long-term relationship. So when they go and you're dating them and they look sweet as pie, mm-hmm. You're looking at you got a time bomb, but because trigger, boom, wired, boom, I'm done with you. Mm-hmm. And that could be with kids, that could be down the road with marriage, that could be 15 years later. I'm tired of this relationship. Mm. And that's the seriousness of in dating. There are also times, I'm gonna flip the script. There's people who are wired for long term. They know who they are. They know what they can give. They're a helpmate. Mm-hmm. And when you see that, they go to counseling with you. Mm-hmm. You go to, or whether it's a pastor or a counselor, they're there. They're there with you in the trenches. They're there. They're rolling up their sleeves with you. And you know what? That person, and the communication is good, mm-hmm. you're going to have a great relationship. Because that person is always going to put themselves first and the relationship first. So when it comes to understanding the wiring, I think that we should understand how we're wired first, mm-hmm. and then see how your mate is wired in dating.
Wow. So what would be one takeaway that you can give from this discussion? We've been talking about the dating, know yourself, communication is important. We began this podcast with, should you enter into a situation and you may be attracted to this person. However, there's some things that you see about this person that you may not like, but your mindset is, I'm going to change them. And to counter that, you said, hey, I see some things, but I think I can live with this. So what's one thing? Let's address changing them. what would you say to a person who has this idea? I'm going to change them. What's the one takeaway that you can give them if they have that mindset?
I would say that that's a bad mindset to have.
That may be a non-negotiable.
That might be a non-negotiable. I think that's a bad mindset to have of changing someone's faults or problems.
Or personality or
characteristics.
So to sum it up, if you are in a dating relationship, we said earlier that you should have some negotiables. You should have some non-negotiables.
Correct.
And the non-negotiable is if a person has that behavior, that aspect of their personality, or and if you are looking for someone you want to live with long term, you see this as a person that you want to marry. If they meet your non-negotiable criteria,
right,
we said you should not try to change them, and maybe be adult enough to say, "Hey, this is not the person for me." And the point that you made, if there are some negotiables, you should look at those. Right?
You know, and I think also, just as a caveat to that, I really think we should, as individuals prior to this whole dating and marriage, really invest in ourselves. Because if you have invested in yourself and you understand your value to be higher, suddenly the things that you think are negotiable or non-negotiable will shift.
Okay.
And certain things that might have been negotiable, you're like, no way I'm dealing with that. You know what I mean? So, but that's because of now who you are. And so really that would be the key thing, is make sure you take some time to invest in yourself. But then also, as you said, if you think you want to change it, it's a non-negotiable.
Right.
Yeah.
So the takeaway is know yourself, know thyself.
Yes.
Know yourself. Take some self-reflection while you're in this dating scene of and really know who you are, what your expectations are, what you would like, and communicate them. Communicate them. Don't be a closed mouth. You know, there's the old saying that a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Yes.
We're Framework for the Family. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bomani Tyehimba, your co-host, along with Zeke Adams and Brian Howard. We're Framework for the Family. I want you to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we're going to continue with these discussions on our podcast. See you on the next podcast.
See you guys. Bye.